Hello folks, my name is Mark, this is Why I Hate the World. How you guys doing? My peoples, where you at? First thing I want to talk about here is Hulk Hogan. So, as you may be aware, Hulk Hogan has done and said some pretty messed up things over the last couple of weeks. First, he appeared at the RNC and he gave a speech, did the whole Hulkamania thing, ripping his shirt off and all that stuff. Some people were angry at that because, he came out as a conservative essentially, but we all kind of knew that anyway. That was really no big surprise to anybody who knows who Hulk Hogan is. Then he did something a little bit more messed up. He got racist at a bar talking about Kamala Harris. And in fact, I've got a video of that thanks to Twitter. Let's go ahead and take a look at that and you guys can see what the man had to say himself.
You want to get crazy? You want me to throw more beers out? You want me to body slam somebody? You want me to body slam Kamala Harris? I said, do you want me to body slam Kamala Harris? You want me to drop the leg on Kamala? Is Kamala a chameleon? Is she Indian? Okay, I like it. Ow! I'm gonna get heat for that one, brother. That was not me, that was the beers talking.
Okay, so yeah, not very nice. It's messed up. It's racist. But what do you expect? Hulk Hogan is, of course, a redneck. Rednecks are gonna be rednecks. You can take the man out of the trailer park, but you can't take the trailer park out of the man. And that's definitely true with Hulk Hogan. This is not the first time, of course, that the Hulkster has been caught doing something racist. If you guys remember back in 2015, he got busted being recorded saying the N-word. In fact, here's the article right here on The Guardian. Wrestler Hulk Hogan fired over race outburst caught on tape. And what exactly happened with this? Well, back in the day, apparently the website called The Gawker put up a sex tape of Hulk Hogan, which is like Hulk Hogan naked. I'm sure that's the last thing anybody wants to see. And this recording came out of him using the N-word. And it was in relation to somebody that his daughter was dating. And it's like, yeah, a little messed up. Not the nicest of persons. So anybody who's been following Hulk Hogan for a while kind of knows that, yeah, the man isn't a liberal at all. He's not a Democrat, he's not a liberal, he's not a progressive. He is pretty dang conservative and pretty racist to boot. Does that mean that Hulk Hogan, though, is a bad person? Well, I don't know. I've seen some stories online about how he lies about certain things, but it doesn't seem to be anything that's super harmful. He doesn't really seem to have a history of racism. That is to say, like, when it comes to, like, other wrestlers and stuff like that, it doesn't seem like he's ever, like as far as I could tell, I don't know. I mean, I'm no expert, so anybody out there who's, like, a better informed on this kind of thing, please let me know. But from what I could see, didn't look like there was any, like he doesn't have a history of treating, like, non-white wrestlers bad or anything like that, so. But it's still kind of fucked up, I think it's more of just the culture that Hulk Hogan comes from. See, I know a lot of people who come from a very similar blue-collar working-class background as Hulk Hogan, from the South or whatever, and they all kind of share this attitude. Like, they're all sort of kind of racist, but the way they see it, everybody's racist. That's the first thing. And the second thing, racism to them, bigotry and racism. I mean, those two things kind of go hand in hand when it comes to this, but it's sort of conditional. Have you ever heard somebody say, and this is going to be really bad, you ever heard somebody say, hey, there's black people and then there's N-words? Have you ever heard that? That's something that I've heard many times growing up from many different people. Some of them my closest friends, who would say, like, yeah, the black people, I love them. You know, they're my friends, blah, blah, blah. And then those N-words over there with their pants sagging down, being gangsters, whatever, blah, blah, blah. They're different. And that seemed to be a thing that I encountered a lot growing up from people who looked and acted and sounded and came from a background just like Hulk Hogan. That sort of conditional racism that, yeah, if you were like a minority that I knew, that I worked with all the time, that I was a friend with or whatever, then you're okay. And if you weren't, then you were in this other group. You were in this other group of actual N-words or whatnot, right? And you see that kind of conditional racism all over the place, even when it comes to people who are otherwise extremely racist. Somebody like, say, Nick Fuentes, for example. Nick Fuentes is a white supremacist. He's like basically a fucking Nazi. But he will work with somebody like Kanye West because there's money involved. You know, it's funny how like Nick Fuentes will go on his show and all that, and he'll say all this incredibly racist shit about black people and all that stuff, and then he'll go work with Kanye West because Kanye West is giving him money. Funny how that happens. Another one is Milo Yiannopoulos. I don't know if you remember that guy. He would go on TV and he would spread all kinds of bullshit about phony baloney crime statistics and race and IQ, you know, propaganda, stuff like that, saying all black people have low IQs, that kind of thing. He would say shit like that all the time. And then he would go home and have sex with his black husband. You know, he was married to a black man, if I remember right. They're perfectly fine, you know, when you're attracted to them, when you want to have sex with them. Another really famous case there, Strom Thurmond. If you guys remember who Strom Thurmond was, he was a extremely racist senator. I think he was like part of the KKK or whatever, right? He was like a segregationist, this guy. And it turned out that he had not one, but multiple illegitimate children with a black mistress. And it's like, oh yeah, black people aren't good enough to like go to your schools or anything like that, or be in the same swimming pool as you, that kind of thing. But when it comes to like getting your dick wet, right, then it's like perfectly acceptable to have a black mistress. It's like, that's the kind of conditional racism that I'm talking about. And that is extremely common for millions of people in this country. And that seems to be the kind of conditional racist bigotry that you see from people like Hulk Hogan. Now, I admit, I am biased here. I'm biased because I was a child in the 80s. And growing up, I was a huge fan of Hulk Hogan. And I'm not going to lie, it is influencing my judgment here. I'm sorry. I don't want Hulk Hogan to be a bad guy. I mean, I grew up in the 80s. They had wrestling on Saturday mornings. It would come on after cartoons, you know. In fact, there actually was a wrestling cartoon. It was called Hulk Hogan's Rock and Roll Wrestling. I used to watch that every fucking Saturday, man. A friend of mine had WrestleMania 3. He recorded it off pay-per-view. Like he had it on VHS. And back in the day, for you kids out there who are too young, pay-per-view was something like that. You would have cable and there'd be a special event like the Olympics or something. And you'd have to pay like $9 or whatever, and then you get to watch it. Right? It was kind of like streaming back before they were streaming, except you had to pay for it every single time. I remember watching that. I remember watching the match between Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant. I think it was in like 6th grade back when that happened. No, it was in 5th grade. And that shit was amazing. It was like the coolest thing ever. You know, here goes like Hulk Hogan was like a real life superhero. You'd see him on the A-Team and stuff like that. And he was in movies and he was in Gremlins 2 and a bunch of other things like that, you know, fucking. So it really sucks. It really hurts. I'm not going to lie. To see Hulk Hogan being a shitty person really fucking hurts on the inside. And I hope that gets back to him in some respect. I hope that he realizes how fucked up it is for his fans, like an entire generation of kids who grew up idolizing him, to see him act like such a piece of shit. And I think in some respect, I think he knows it. I think he knows it. He apologized for using the N-word, you know, and eventually managed to repair his relationship with the WWE, and I believe he's back now. I don't think he wrestles anymore. He's got to be like fucking 80 at this point, but I think he still works with them or something like that. And even after this racist diatribe at the bar there, he seemed to know that he fucked up, and he was like, oh, it was the beer talking. Apparently he was promoting his own band of beer, and he was like, sorry, I was drunk, I didn't mean it. That's something I've heard from lots of people like him as well. I didn't really mean it. I'm not really racist. I'm not really a bad person. And it's like 9 times out of 10, that's bullshit. Okay? It just is. 9 times out of 10, yeah, you are a fucking bad person. You're a bad person because you're thinking this shit. This is how you see the world. And, you know, I'm hoping that Hulk Hogan just happens to be that 10th instance out of 10. I'm hoping that he understands, like, hey, this is messed up. It's wrong, and I shouldn't think this, and it's fucked up. And I hope he truly thinks that on the inside. And I hope he's just not saying that just because he doesn't want to get canceled or whatever, right? I don't know. I mean, can we forgive him? I don't think we really need to forgive him. I think it's sort of at the point now where Hogan is, you know who he is, and if you're a fan of him, you just have to accept that, well, he's just going to be a little racist sometimes. Man, it's kind of fucked up, and it's like, I don't like it, but I admit I still kind of like him, and I'm not going to go see a movie with him in it, or I'm not going to, like, pay to watch him wrestle or whatever. I mean, not anymore. I mean, of course, he's fucking old as hell. I don't think he wrestles anymore. You get my point. I'm not going to give the man money, but it's just disappointing. You know what I mean? And I guess that's what they mean when they say you should never meet your heroes, because they're always going to disappoint you. Kind of disappoints me. And does it diminish a little bit all of the great memories I have of watching him wrestle and playing with his action figures and stuff like that was when I was a kid? Does it diminish that? I don't know. I guess it's a lesson to learn. Even the people you idolize are just normal, ordinary people. And just like anybody else, your heroes have flaws. I guess that's all it really comes to. I don't know. Just want to say, Hogan, if you're ever out there, if you ever see this video, man, I am fucking disappointed. Very, very disappointed. Do better, Hulk Hogan.
Hello folks, if you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.